Got it. They're all right here.
Whoa!
Oh,
Damn.
what was that, dude? Throw some kind of grenade at them?
Seeker.
That was my fucking my fucking drone,
Fuck,
dude.
dude, that fucked him up.
They got shield boost. They got shield boost.
Oh my god!
Oh,
You're fucking shit up.
Mutant Cowboy here with another Division 2 video. In this one, I just wanted to go over my skill build that I'm actually using after Title Update 3. That's actually working pretty well. Able to use it in challenge missions, able to use it in skirmish, able to use it in heroic 4-man missions. So it does work, and it does put out really good DPS. Most of the time I'm actually top of the DPS on random matchmaking for heroic missions. So, let's just take a quick look at what that build is. Alright, we'll start off with the weapons. Nothing really special there. These are just the same weapons I use for my DPS builds. I don't really invest too much into any sort of skill talents because I think they're trash. They can work and they can do stuff, but I prefer more run and gun, and some of this stuff is just too hokey, too limiting. I don't like it. I don't really care for it, and I'm not going to have my weapon equipped just so I can get some sort of talent while not using my gun. So, not going to do that. Moving on to my mask, I have a 3-piece China Light Industries for that explosive damage and that cooldown reduction. But on this mask, I've got 10% additional reduction and 370 skill power. Plus, I have Destructive for 20% explosive damage. And of course, got Alp Summit for cooldown reduction and skill power, and this one has 788 skill power. And since you can only have one yellow roll on the chest, I also added 5% weapon damage. For my mods, I have a utility system with skill power and drone skill power, a generic with explosive damage, and also an offensive with weapon damage and assault rifle damage. My holster, Douglas and Harding with 24% cooldown reduction, with destructive for 20% explosive damage, and another utility system, skill power, drone skill power mod. Alright, and then moving into my backpack, Alp Summit again for 511 skill power and 60% cooldown reduction. I don't really care about Safeguard. If I really wanted it, I could get rid of that weapon mod, but I don't have healing, so I don't really care about it. I'm focused primarily on just doing damage, and that is it. As you can see, I have a utility protocol with skill power and explosive damage. Of course, it has this stupid XP bonus bullshit. I don't know why skill mods are getting those stupid things. It's kind of like the most worthless roll that you could possibly imagine. It's basically like getting the knee pads from Division 1. But whatever. It's a division. And then I have a system mod for skill power and seeker skill power. On my gloves, I haven't been able to get a good pair of World Tier 5 China Light gloves yet. I really want one with some skill power on it, like you can see from my 450 ones. But unfortunately, I haven't gotten one yet. So I'm just rocking these because it's pretty much all I need for the moment. I don't need too much more skill power, and 155 isn't going to really do anything to help me out. So I'm sticking with these ones just to unlock that cooldown reduction. And that's pretty much the only reason. Alright, for my knee pads, again China Light, 10% reduction, and I could have either 10% skill haste here, or I could have the 20% explosive damage. The reason I'm going with the skill haste is it's doing much more damage overall than just having that tiny 20% extra damage from my base damage. So this has a cooldown. For some reason I'm at 90%, but my cooldown is 12 seconds on my drone. I'm not exactly sure why. I think it might have something to do with maybe a mod that's on there. I don't know. But this gives me a 12-second cooldown. If I put only a single 20% in there, it would give me somewhere in like a 30 or 40-second cooldown. So I'd much rather have the skill haste. And then I've got a protocol mod for the explosive damage. Alright. The reason I'm really showing off this build is just because it takes so long to try to get all of these pieces. Not only do you have to get a mask with 2 yellows, you have to get probably destructive because you're going to have to re-roll one of those yellows because it's going to be very weak. Because you need to have the cap. You need to have that cooldown reduction cap to make this build effective. You also need to have destructive to actually make your skills do damage, because without destructive, your skills are way too weak and underpowered. The same thing with the chest piece. Although the chest piece is a little bit easier, but it's still rather difficult to try to get the perfect one. I wanted weapon damage. I managed to get it. You could probably go with armor or health, but still, it's basically the same thing. You got to get skill power, and you probably need to have destructive. Again, with the holster, you can see here it's 450 because of the same reason as the other one. Just haven't seen anything that's exactly what I want. This one's got the utility system mod. It's got the destructive already on it, so all I need to do is just boost up the utility slot, or boost up the utility stat, and this becomes a very usable piece. The same thing with this one. You just have to have all these perfect rolls to make this build work. You need to have these perfect rolls, which is the biggest pain in the butt for getting this build to work. Alright, moving into my seeker mine. The thing to note here is that I actually use the explosive mine for PvP content, and I use the cluster for PvE content. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Only thing I do is I just change out the drive slot, so instead of having the +5 extra mines, I actually use more cooldown in my explosive mine, and that's because all of your stats kind of get modified, obviously, when you go into normalized PvP. So my cooldown reduction actually goes to like 70%. So I need to have an additional 20% to get to that cap to make it work. But as you can see, in my clusters are doing 275k. I've got total of what I think it's 9 mines total, and I've got 22% damage mods on there. For my drone, as you can see, for some reason it says 12-second cooldown, whatever, but I'm doing explosive damage in 466k. Plus I've got 7 bombs and a 6-meter radius. Alright guys, so I know that the drone seeker is not an original combination, right? It's pretty much the drone sticky from the first game. I've been running it since the beginning, trying to make it work. It's just that now I've actually got it to the place where I think it really can work. Because of the 90% cooldown, the almost max radius, and the extra bombs. So I think that really helps out the build. Plus, of course, that 140-something% explosive damage on top, which really makes the build actually work, because damage is just something that's lacking from skills, and that is the only way to do it, with explosive damage talents. If you look at the other ones, they don't have any of that. Pulse doesn't really help a team. It helps you if you have one talent on, which is kind of stupid. Turret, it doesn't gain anything. You can say, okay, there's the artillery turret, but it's a pile of shit, and we all know it. The sniper turret is near worthless, and the regular assault turret, it's okay. It does its job, but neither the assault turret or the incinerator really get anything from investing into. You can have max skill power, and you get what? Literally, tell me, what do you get? You can throw on a few tiny little damage mods. You can throw on some duration and health. Is that really gonna do anything? Honestly, is anything that you can invest into for these turrets worth it? The answer is no. You can have a scrub DPS player using a friggin' incinerator turret, and he does the same exact fucking shit that your fully maxed out skill does. So, there you go. The Hive, Stinger Hive. I mean, it works. I've seen people use it. It's a waste of a talent, to be honest, or a waste of a skill, to be honest with you. I wouldn't want to run it. Chem Launcher, Firestarter, and the Oxidizer used to be really good. That was before the radius nerf. I mean, yes, you can stack a bunch of ammo into it and just spam them, but let's be honest, it fires so slow. It's not like you can just spam a huge area in seconds. Like, no, you literally get one shot a second. Well, you know, if you look at the damage, you're just doing more damage with a sniper rifle headshot. You know, this is kind of almost a waste at this point, because the whole point is you wanted to stack the clouds on multiple, you know, on the same enemy. You wanted to get that huge radius and stack it. Well, without the radius, like, enemies just leave it, and you have to just constantly just spam these clouds everywhere, which really basically is the same amount of DPS that you would have done with your gun anyway. So it's kind of, it doesn't make sense. Firefly, it could be good and it could work, but it's a pile of hot trash, and the fact that it decides to fly into any piece of paper that's blowing into the wind and self-destruct makes it rather useless. So therefore, I stick with the Seeker Mine and the Drone because, to be honest, out of the explosive skills, they have probably the best success rate, and they usually are the least clunky to use. And I know the drone, yes, the drone can be very clunky, which is why I generally hold down the skill button and use it as kind of like a very slow fired weapon, if that makes sense. I just aim it in front of me, shoot it, and dodge roll. That's basically it. You know, rush up and deploy it. And that works well. You know, the aim mode is kind of hokey, hit or miss whether it's actually going to work or not. And a lot of the times I find that it just doesn't work, right? But if you look at that damage radius is pretty beastly. And in PvP, that just shreds the AI. I mean, they can't really dodge roll out of it, and especially if you get them into a narrow corridor or down a hallway where they're all lined up coming out of a door or something. You can do some really heavy damage to them, and it's not uncommon to get 2 million damage on enemies coming down a hallway. The only other thing I would note with the build is that for PvP, again, the same thing with the Seeker Mine. Because of the cooldown because of the change in the cooldown reduction, I usually have to remove one of my blast radius mods. Obviously, I try to go with the 48 one. Because obviously I lose cooldown reduction because of the cap on it. You know, whenever you roll your stats, you go over the normalization cap. So basically, that's all brought back down. So any of the bonuses that I get, I lose. So I have to put. I figure that having cooldown reduction is a lot more important than the radius, because I'd rather have a 10-second cooldown than I would have a 40 or 50-second cooldown because of the nerf. Or not nerf, but because of the normalization, I'd rather have the cooldown. So the only thing to note with that. Alright guys, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the build. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Maybe we can get the devs to pay attention a little bit more with skills, ways to improve them, so on and so forth. And I'll see you in the next one.
Establish a perimeter in record time. Good work, everyone, but the job's not done yet.
Dude, I'm behind the fucking wall. I hate this shit, man.
Gotta watch our flanks too.
down one.
Clean it up, clean it up.
Down another one.
Help me! Blake the target!
Watch your fire! Drone in the air!
We got a casualty here!
Right there! Taking fire from all sides! I got you covered! Got one over there! Watch it! Grenade! Grenade! Got one more! EMP!
Finish mopping up these assholes and let's see what we can find.